Get ready, fighters! A Rome himself production is coming your way!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. I missed y'all. Good to see y'all. So today we're going to be covering the new KOF 2.41 balance patch, but we're going to be making a tier list of the balance patch. It's been about 3 to 4 weeks now. There's been a few tournaments, a few SWC players have qualified for that. And of course, speculation has been going on. The interesting part is we haven't had our Lord and Savior Shao Hai make a tier list. I know he's a little busy. And some other players like Score are making some kind of questionable tier lists, but hey, those guys are top players. I'm just merely a spectator. And because I'm merely a spectator, I'm gonna throw in my 2 cents. We're gonna make a tier list right now, live. Before we get into this tier list, you already know, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment. It does boost the algorithm. I would lie to you right now and tell you that I check my analytics. I don't. I probably should though, because it would let me know how many of you guys are not subbed. So let's pretend 85% of you guys are not subbed to the channel. If you sub to the channel now, I'll be able to live. All right, so my criteria for a tier list is gonna be a little different than what you might see. Just going over the top categories here, you can see top 5, I think that's self-explanatory. These are gonna be the 5 best characters. I'll explain why they are that. So top 10-ish might be a little more interesting. The reason why I put ish is because I think top 10-ish has potential to have more than 5 characters, right? Because if you add the 2 tiers up top, that would be 10. But if I put like 8 characters in top 10-ish, that means I think those 8 characters are high enough. We just maybe need a little bit more data, or maybe player preference could consider them top tier, because there's really a lot of good characters in this game. Upper tier is going to be characters that are sitting right outside of that top tier, top 15, top 20 range, who are good in their own right. Maybe they got some good buffs, maybe they got some slight nerfs, things that didn't hurt them too much or hinder them. But for the most part, characters that are solid, can play the game well, just not as well as the people above them. Middle of the road is, I think that one is also a little easy to understand. These are characters that are lacking the X factor, indeed, right? They're lacking that good gene that makes them a really solid character. Maybe they have one trait that stands out, but too many weaknesses that might hinder them. So I didn't want to have a low tier, and I wanted to have a lower mid, because I truly think there's no horrible amount of characters. Like, there's a few which we'll get to obviously, but I think for the most part, out of the entire roster, everyone is decent at something. They're all fine in their own right. A lot of it comes down to player skill, of course, ease of access, but for the most part, I don't think there's many lower tier characters, but there's lower mid tier characters. And bottom 3, do you think you can guess who's going to be in bottom 3? So this is my top 5. I would say it's not in a numerical order, but it kind of is. My explanation for this is these are the 5 characters that are the best played in the positions that they're played in. But of course, I think 4 out of 5 of them, actually, you can even make an account for Sylvie, but 4 out of 5, I would say, indeed, can be ran on any position and be a formidable character. They cover all bases. They play the game well. They take advantage of the system mechanics. In the case of Benimaru, I mean, he's Benimaru, right? His only real nerf is he doesn't get EX Raijinken as easy off of light normals. However, it's still a great whiff punish tool. He still gets massive damage. In fact, I think they buffed his damage, if I'm not mistaken. Isla's nerfs didn't really do anything to her. It didn't hurt her main game plan. Losing the overhead in the corner from jump back C is really, that's like a little scratch. That just means that you live a little bit longer, but still one of the best characters when it comes to rush down, safe pressure, ease of access too, which is another thing for all these characters. I think all 5 of these characters, with the exception of Shizuru, and I'll get into that, is usually, more so ease of access. Shizuru, of course, just keeps getting better somehow. Some would argue she was top 5 last time. Keeps getting better, crazy damage. The fact that she has a move that locks your moves away, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I think that's kind of cheap. Yashiro, I didn't go over him. I think he's the perfect point character. He does everything a point character should do. He has more advantage at fighting you without resources. Little bit of resources he needs himself to dish out massive damage. Some of the best jump normals in the game, if not maybe the best. They're all obnoxious, stupid hitboxes. I would say even a interesting quirk about Yashiro that doesn't get talked about enough, his DP, the fact that his DP has guard point and not iframes or he doesn't launch himself off the ground, it's actually not a bad DP when it comes to some trades, because he'll stay grounded. If he trades with you in the air, if the guard point doesn't work, he'll stay grounded in a lot of cases and he won't die. Whereas other characters, they'll go straight in the air. That gives you more time to recover, punish, or eat a hop CD counter hit, which also these characters take full advantage of. And Sylvie is, I would put her all the way at the end. She's the best anchor character free in the game. All the damage, active frames for days, safe pressure as well with some of her heavy specials. Yeah, I think she's definitely the best idea of an anchor. So all 5 characters, I think they play their roles perfectly. The top 3 in particular, these 3, you can put them in any position you want, though Yashiro's best played point, Benimaru's best mid, and Isla's best anchor. Top 10-ish. So again, my logic for top 10-ish, these are characters that are, I would put them, ideally, I think they all are top 10 caliber. What holds them back, some characters on this list from top 5, I think, is the ease of access. You just look at the 2 up top, right? Look at Benimaru and Isla right on top of Shune and Hydern. Shune, I would say the best to use Shune, like perfectly well, like a Dark Angel Shune, if you will, could be considered a top 5 character. But that is such a small percent to use him at that level. You know what I mean? Outside of that, I would arguably put him top 5, but the executionary barrier, similar with Hydern, I feel like as dumb as Hydern is, his biggest issues are his proximity on his normals aren't the best, right? You can be close up and get far D, which will whiff over their head and they'll get a punish. Far C is like decent in some cases, but it might whiff too. And his low confirms without meter, not only his low confirms weird and they're very like spatial, your spatial awareness has to be on point, knowing where you are in the screen in order to connect them properly. He doesn't have the best confirms off of lights. And again, if you look at the top 5 characters, they exceed in that, right? Their light normals are some of the best in the game. They get massive damage off lights. Benimaru, not as much as the others, but still big damage. And I think that's the one thing that hurts him a little bit too. But again, I mean, he has like some of the best mix up in the game. Devious stuff. The only character in this like first half of the top 10-ish characters that are not executionary heavy, which you can kind of switch with Shizuru, is Oyash. I don't think he's right next to Yashiro, but Oyashiro is dangerously good. He slows the game down to a halt. You got to watch a movie when he hits you with super disrespectful command grabs, but that's the problem, is that he's all command grabs, right? So he's all his moves are grabs except for one, which means you're very rarely going to die to chip damage from him. His hop punch move is predictable if he tries to go for something like that, which makes it easier for you to blow it up. And obviously his normals are amazing, right? That's like, I'm putting that aside. His normals are amazing, but because all his specials are command grabs, he's looking mostly for that, and you know that. So you want to play to that type of gameplay, but doesn't stop him from being a top 10 character. K-Dash and Rio are 2 interesting characters. K-Dash is still really good, right? All places on the screen, great pressure, some of the best guard damage. Same with Rio, they can really break your guard down like fast. He also just has really hard combos to do, right? A lot of his combos are tight with the execution. Giving him that EX juggle helped a lot, but I think he's right there. If you're, again, a Dark Angel or a Violent Kane, if you're anybody on that level, Shadow X, right, running K-Dash, you guys are gonna make him look top 5, but he's right there. Rio, the nerfs to Rio, they were made to stop like fake Rio players. And what I mean by that is people just abusing the character for his strengths, right? Fireball is more minus now, so it's easier to punish. You can't get too risky with it. His jump beat isn't as messed up, so he can't cross up as easily. Sometimes even harder to cross up with it, right? And obviously, you don't get the world off of an anywhere juggle mid-screen. That being said, the damage is still there. Their conversions are still there. Still one of the best uppercuts in the game. Still some great, solid, heavy normals. 2C is just a beautiful anti-air normal in conjunction with Far C, which destroys everything and is still special cancelable. EX Tatsu still really good. So, I mean, again, he got normalized a bit. Still a top 10 character. And with the other 3, Genitz in particular, another character that is really annoying, right? On Anchor and does a great job. Up close, he dies, but he has to be, I don't want to say exclusively played on Anchor, but the best Genitz will ever be is on Anchor because of his like insane damage, just never scaling, huge conversions, but the lack of like a really good reversal without bar. The hitboxes on some of his normals, right? Not the best. He really needs to go for the crazy re-jump pressure, the EX teleports to get in. He's never really going to beat you in a normals kind of game, which the top tiers have. And Miten-kun, it's a weird one. He's on paper hella good, so annoying, right? High damage, juggles off anything, anti-zoning tools. However, he still loses to zoning, right? And I think that's what hurts him the most. Thankfully for him, most of the best characters here aren't really zoners, so he doesn't have to deal with a Joe or an Athena too much. But I think he's right there. I think what hurts him is that he's a charge character. And I know charge character in KOF games are shorter than usual, but I believe if he was motions, we'd see him a lot more. We'd see him quite a bit more in the tail list. That hurts him the most. Blue Mary is another character that I think out of this entire list, she's as good as you make her. All the tools in the world, obnoxious normals too. Jump D, one of the better ones. 2D, a really good normal. Having two heavy punches that are both double hitting and special cancelable gives her a lot. The 3D buff, the climbing, that being faster gives her optimal like blue max combos now, and just really good trades. Like, she is another character I would put her like firmly in the middle. I think she's like the best on that position, but I also think she requires a lot of KOF experience. She's a character that's only going to get better with how good you are at the game, as opposed to a character like maybe an Isla or Yashiro, or even a Miten-kun, where you may not have to be that good at KOF, but those characters have obnoxious tools that will help you out. So upper tier, now there's a lot of people in this tier list, as you can see, and it took me some time to kind of gather my thoughts, but looking at the rest and then looking at this, no, I think these are upper tiers. And the reason why it's so many, I'm gonna break it down because I do think there's a bit of a divide in this upper tier, but not a divide that's huge enough. It's more so just a mindset, right? And to start with the first five, if you notice that the first five I have here, Hinako, Kim, Duolon, and Orochi Chris. So I have these here, particularly because they are all some of the biggest winners of the 2.41 patch, right? Less Duolon because he got a lot of those changes the patch before, but these three got some good changes. However, I think the jury is still out on them. And while part of me thinks one or two of them could sneak over into top 10-ish, my logic is, in the case of Chris's biggest buff is the system mechanic. Being able to get that much damage now off of the Hop CD counter hit, it's something that if he didn't have access to, I don't think his position would have moved as much on a tear, right? His normals are usually like pretty much the same. He actually lost one of his combos, if I believe, off of his EX command grab, which hurt him a little bit. Obviously he has the other conversion where he can do off of the light punch, like overhead slash, he gets like uppercut now for free, which is like, again, it's fine, it extends his combo ability, but his damage has always been high. The problem is his uppercut is still kind of wonky, right? It moves him a little bit too forward, so sometimes it'll whiff. His normals, while good and while he can be annoying, they do have some blind spots in them, right? He's got to get relatively close in order to do damage. Fireball isn't really that good outside of like conversions. So I think the biggest change for him has been the system mechanic. Without the system mechanic, he might still be upper tier, just on the lower spectrum of upper tier. Duolon is a character similar to Ashune, where he's only as good as the user makes him. He's not easy to play. He requires a lot of setup. That being said, he's one of the best points in the game. When you see someone like Akula just running, roughshod, right, over their opponents with Duolon, doing the things that they do, I think if he was a little easier to play and maybe had a reversal, a non-super reversal, because all he has is like the super ghost kamikaze attack, I think without that, he is just right under that, right under that tier list. He doesn't have that extra stuff. He has to nickel and dime you at any chance. These three here, I think, again, the jury is still out. We haven't seen them get used as often in some of these later tournaments. Nakaruru has always been on the cusp of something great, right? During the second patch, when Kill was the meta, she was like a pick for him, a counter pick, because of how good her uppercut was. And it still is good. It's obnoxious. It clears so much of the screen. Yo, Crime Zonks, thank you so much for the follow. Nice jump scare right there. See, we're live, guys. We're doing it all live. And you could be here too over at twitch.tv/Rome himself. So yeah, Nako, like I was saying, she's like right there in terms of how good she is. Her range is a big issue, but the changes she got now, I'm still waiting to see it get used by some better players. And the same with Hinako. Hinako's biggest gripe against her is that she kind of loses a lot of air exchanges if the characters have great air normals, right? Her hop CD is dumb, her pressure insane. Some of the best damage, possibly maybe even top 5. Like her damage is like matching that of Sylvie's and Gannett's, where she just does so much, right? So many of the changes swayed in her way, but she requires time. Again, another character that is going to be put a little lower on the tier list than a top 10-ish, even though the qualities that I think she has could easily make her a top 10 or a top 15. It's just a matter of what we've seen in the few weeks as far as tournament results and even just casually. I've talked with El Rosa at CEO Otaku, and he's learning her, but he flat out told me, he's like, you know, as good as she is, she requires some work. And we've seen other Hinako players not really find that success just yet, but I look at this top 5 in particular, and I think that, you know, down the line, their positions could very well change. You know, the more we explore this patch, the more they could get better based off of that. Oh, I forgot. I almost forgot about this guy right here. Kim, held back by the executionary barrier, of course, but massive damage. Got KOF 13 combos again, right? So what a dumb character. I don't like fighting Kim. And so on to the rest of upper tier. If you've paid attention to this game's meta for the last year with the previous patch, it's more or less the same. There's a few more characters I would say join this list. The most notable is Geese, right? And he joined this list not from a below position, but from a top position. Turns out the changes to Geese were pivotal. The nerf on the crouch heavy kick, you know, that being a little slower. His palm not being safe, so like he has to commit to a fireball, which also has more startup now in some of his strings. I think those little changes, which goes to show you the power dynamic in KOF, where something on paper that might not look as bad can be everything. And then vice versa for Benny Morrow, where it kind of looked really bad with the 2C nerf not being able to link off that. It's like, that didn't really hurt him too much in the grand scheme. Everyone else, more or less the same in terms of their placements. Clark received some nerfs, but they don't hurt him that much. Yuri just got a little bit more damage, but she's always been a great character. Her biggest weakness, again, is her range. Her range is what holds her back, but enormous jump arc, though. She can be a bit of a pest, high damage. Iori's Iori. I mean, 2C still destroys everybody, right? It's still good. And the same with Rock. I think Rock getting a new combo, right? He gets 6B now. He could do like stand C, 6B into whatever. And all the buffs to his you know, juiced up, whatever he calls it, edge boy mode, I don't know, puberty install, that helps him out more. If we were ranking Rock as that version, right, as the install version, I would put him top 10-ish, but you're most likely going to be playing him always like this. So for that, he stays in upper tier. But again, really solid at the game. Shermie she's Shermie. Hasn't changed that much at all, right? She got one new combo, I think. And then we just go down to characters like Ralph. I think Ralph got some quality of life changes, but in my book, Ralph has always been a really good character, even after the initial nerf. I think people just didn't want to play him, and that was okay with me because I like downplaying, so it is what it is. So Gatso is back in upper tier. He got some good changes. Still haven't seen much of him, right? And in tournaments, I know Lokov is back on him, obviously switching off from Geese, but don't know if that's enough to make him a top 10-ish character. Again, not to drag this on because this could go on for a long time. I'll just try to skim through, but Team Fatal Fury's here. You can see them all here, and they're virtually the same. Terry did get a buffed low confirm, which helps him out a lot. The two Andy changes are fun, but they're still gimmicky at the end of the day. The fake elbow, it works sometimes, but it doesn't really change his gameplay. It just makes him a little more fun. So his position has been relatively the same. And the same for these two here, Kyo and Luong, characters that have seen better days. They're not bad. I just think that they're, maybe for the wider audience, not as fun to use. So you might not see those two get picked enough, but still great characters. Luong still has some of the best conversions, right? With that EX flip thing, it hurts. It hits hard. Still disjointed hitboxes. Close D or close C, whichever one it is. She put the big old leg out. Still hits from like all the way down the block. Still a dangerous move. So if you notice, A tier has a lot of strong zoners too. Rugal, Athena, Mai, all quality of life changes. The buff for Athena to do Psycho, Shining Crystal Bit into the Psycho Ball Super, that's huge actually. That does a lot of damage for her. And her mid-screen damage is kind of lacking. Outside of that, Still a great pestering character. I think she's upper tier. Of course, if your zoning is on point, she's going to go well. Same with Joe. Rugal, the little heavy dash, I don't think it changes his gameplay that much, but the OTG that he gets now with the Optic Blast Super, I think that's better for him to clutch out victories. So while I do think his position hasn't changed as much, being able to OTG now with that super is going to help him close out more rounds off anything, right? You get a trade, you get a DP from like far out, you go into it. Like, I believe that helps him out. Even like Eye Blast, I believe, into super is going to work. So I think that was good for him. That was good for him. Not enough to change his position. So Vice is the newest character in this tier list here, overall, right? In my tier list, but also in the game. And it's been a few weeks now between her and Mature. You know, we'll see where Mature ends up on this placing, but it seems that everyone is saying Vice is considered better. Farsi is an obnoxious button. It's really strong. 2C is not what it used to be. Still a good anti-air. Damage is all there. Obviously, the anywhere juggles off sleeve. I was thinking though, funny enough, I think her horizontal sleeve is actually a better anti-air than vertical sleeve. I know vertical sleeve is obviously designed to be that, right? It's the anti-air, and it can. You just have to be like, you have to do it earlier, I believe. Whereas I think vertical is just so good. I mean, horizontal is just so good at catching like a hop or a backdash, right? Even sometimes if you stand CD into it from max range, while it's minus, you can keep yourself kind of out of that range to die from it, right? Especially if you do the D version. She might be one of the better anchors. The reason I put her in upper tier, I think it just comes down to like semantics, right? Like, I look at a character like Orochi Yashiro. They have kind of similar game plans and like how they want to throw you. She's going to take a more lame approach, whereas Oyashiro wants to be more guerrilla. However, he can be lame, right? We've seen players like Reno get a damage lead and just back off, run away, right? Because he still has all those great buttons. And I think that's the difference. While she has some good few buttons, he has like a lot of great buttons. So if I'm going from a who's the better anchor, who's the better grappler standpoint argument, which, you know, it's KOF, a lot of people are going to have that because of how many characters. I think ultimately most people would go with Orochi Yashiro. So that's kind of where I put her there. But I do think she is a better character than I initially thought. I still got to put some time into the character. I haven't had a chance to play as much, but you know, everyone's saying she's good, and hopefully we get to see some high-level Vice placings, you know, with this character. I want to see people use her. And I believe that's no, forgot about this guy. So these two in particular, Naj and Ramon, I think they got all the changes they need. I think what comes down to them again is in Naj's case, a lot of executionary stuff. Good character. Her damage it's long combos now. It's not short combos anymore. But she does have some good buffs. I think the plus Rekka, the drop kick being better. Now you can cancel drop kick off of heavy kick normally and at the end of your Rekka string. The level 2 drop kick and up to keep yourself safe, or break guard possibly, or catch your opponent mashing. The fact that she has a super that she can combo into, it's weird because I think she's like right here. Like she's right up there. Maybe another balance patch and like Naj could go to top 10. And Ramon is funny. The character has surpassed meme tier initially, and also surpassed knowledge check, right? He's still a knowledge check in the sense that if you never play Ramon, you're gonna get cooked, but he's got some excellent tools to bypass that, right? He kind of has a reversal now, right, with run, stop, cancel. The fact that you have to sometimes fight him and have to worry what's going to happen on round start. It could be either EX drop kick, which is really fast, that also wall bounces, right? Counter wire. He has EX dash grab, which can catch you off your guard if you're not paying attention. It's a fast tool. The 2C, I think, is deceptive range on that 2C. Deceptive range, which goes into more damage. He has a really good command grab. He is actually, this is the best Ramon has been in years. I don't think he's like Nest Saga level, right? With all how messed up he was in like 2000 and stuff, but it's definitely the best Ramon, and you know, I don't need him getting any better. I'm thinking about getting rid of lower mid. You know what? I'm gonna get rid of lower mid. All right, we're coming down to our 4th tier, and the last one that'll have the most characters in here. This is middle of the road tier. So I have a few different reasons as to why I call this middle of the road. Some characters are middle of the road because they're generic, or they're not as cool as other characters that do the same thing they do, or they just don't have that outing. They lack that X factor, they lack that special normal or special move that the person in their tax bracket is better at executing. Doesn't mean that they're bad characters. I think they all have their special usages, but again, it's going to come down to, do I want to work hard enough with this character? How much do I like his character, right? Like, they're almost like a specialist pick, but in a fan sense, right? Angel obviously qualifies for specialist pick, right? Out of everyone here. And Angel is the perfect example of this character is best when you're the best. I think she's 100% made on how creative are you as a player, how good are you as a player, how much are you able to switch your mindset and keep things fresh, right? Keep ideas fresh in order to play the character. Because a really bad KOF player will not find success with Angel. A really good KOF player is gonna find success with Angel. And I know that might sound like, oh, what do you mean, Rome? Of course a good KOF player is gonna find success. There's differences, trust me. A good KOF player can play a KOF character, or they can play Angel and go really far. So Angel is always kind of hard to balance. But anyways, looking at the rest of these characters, King, even Dolores. I played Dolores, and the more I play her, the more I'm like, I don't think she's as good as we want her to be. Not that she's bad, again, but there's other characters who are just doing what she does better. One of those characters is Ginnets, right? More damage, similar kind of moveset, whatever. Same could go for Oshermi, right? Oshermi, not really that special. You got to really like the character. Fireballs are a little finicky. Damage is good, of course, when she gets the hit, but it's always going to come down to just not lacking the best special moves between that character. Looking at the issue 5 that I have here, or issue 4, because I kind of spoke about Angel, I think these are all good characters. I just put the middle of the road again because the changes they got, at least in the sense of like Kula, Ash, and like and more so Shingo, not as much Cronin, but these three, the changes they got, fun changes, you know, it makes them a little more interesting to play. But in the grand scheme of things, you know what matters here. We see Ash Crimson and we always think about Sans Colette. Yes, Sans Colette is cool. But it's one of the harder combos to do in the game. You have to play him almost exclusively on Anchor, and I don't think Ash is the best Anchor. I think he'd be better played without Sans Colette. You'd want to play him on point or mid because he does have some really good fireballs. I think his fireballs might be some of the best in game. It's just that you're usually saving your resources for Sans Colette, right? That one big confirm. And how many times have we seen Ash players, and I'm not talking about just the meme, but Ash players in general, playing him on Anchor, looking for that one hit, and because his neutral's kind of cheeks, they never get the opening on their opponent. They have to always look for a whiff punish. He doesn't have a command grab. He doesn't have an overhead. It's hard for him to open you up, right? And as good as his fireballs are, you can just walk those and roll them. You know what I mean? You can roll through them. The fireballs are not going to open you up for a big combo. Yes, he has good damage, but look at all these other characters I listed with high damage for less. You know what I'm saying? The only character I might make an executive decision to move up here, I think I'm going to move Whip up here. I didn't even notice her big ass forehead for some reason. Whip is definitely an upper tier. She's also exceeded that you know, like lack of knowledge, kind of like weird character to fight, and she still can be. She does suffer in some matchups, but overall a really good Whip will make you work for your win. But back to this tier, yeah, middle of the road. Robert Garcia is probably the most mid character ever. Him and King, not bad characters. We literally just saw Rockland Keel win CEO Taku, and one of his victories was a reverse 3-0 with King, just doing zoning, just fireball zoning, right? Typical fighting game 101, and it clearly worked out. So again, all these characters here you can have success with. Is just they teeter more between specialist picks and, man, I really love this character, so I'm gonna play them. I really like Haomaru, I'm gonna play Haomaru, and that's, you know, me personally. If you guys watch the streams, you know, love me some Haomaru, but his changes weren't enough to elevate him. It made him more fun to play. It gave him slightly more access into his damage, but it's still not gonna do nothing when you're staring down the barrel of anyone else in this range. You know what I mean? Same with Antonov and Dinosaur. You know, I'm sure the people that use them are happy. Antonov still can't combo off lights. He has to rely a lot on gimmicks. Dinosaur has one of the better light normals, I think, when it comes to confirming into EX Claw, but still a lot more gimmicky in his gameplay. So not gonna be good when you're stacking that up against, you know, gimmicks against how can I say this? Gimmicks against like pristine, solid play. It's always gonna go a certain way. You can gimmick out certain enemies, but at a high level standpoint, it's always gonna be harder to gimmick the better players. And last, and sadly least, the bottom three, the gorgeous ladies, the Charlie's Angels of KOF15, all of them are scrumptious, but apparently they struggle. So I'm gonna get Mature out the way right now. I think I've played a total of 5 minutes with Mature. I asked in the KOF Discord, I'm like, hey, how are you guys feeling about Mature? And everyone did not hesitate to tell me that Mature is a struggle bus right now. Her anti-airs are not good. Her fireball feint, while it's a cool idea, too slow. It has a lot of recovery to it. Damage isn't that high. You know, wonky hitboxes are certain things. Just not that good of a character, which kind of sucks. You know, obviously her advice to the last DLC, we don't know if we'll get another balance patch, but we'd want to play these characters. I would like to play these characters and see them get played more. You paid that extra money, they should be better, you know. Unfortunately, Elizabeth was already considered a bottom 5 character last patch, and they nerfed her. So I'm sorry, Darlie, if you stay exclusively in the air with Darlie, like if you're just doing like jump C, hop CD, like short hopping, you know, jumping back, whatever, I actually think her air normals are kind of obnoxious. Like, they're annoying to get over. If you don't have a solid DP and you have to rely on certain normals, I think she can be hard to get in on from that standpoint. The problem is she's never going to really open you up. She has to do that. She has to do catch release string, which you can punish from certain angles. So again, the changes she got wasn't enough to make her a serious contender. And with that, I think, you know, it's sad to say, if you really like these characters, they're considered the weakest. But if you learned anything from this balance patch, I want you to know that this is what I believe is the current landscape of KOF 15 after a few weeks of the current balance patch, seeing some of the major tournament results, listening to some feedback from the live chat here, as well as what people are saying in certain discords, and just my personal speculation. Of course, these are my thoughts. There's no numerical order. If you disagree with this list, if you say, Rome, this list is stupid, that is your opinion. You don't have to rain on my parade, but I would like to hear your opinion. So if you can, please drop it in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I should put down the crack, or do you think I'm not smoking enough crack, right? And maybe I should smoke more and put Darlie Dagger up here in top 5. Let me know, guys, in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.
That's all for now, fighters. But if you've enjoyed what you've seen, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to follow Rome's social media pages down below. Take care, see you next time, and most importantly, thank you for watching.